Welcome to Tea Time with Talent Acquisition, the podcast aimed at fostering knowledge and sharing stories within the vibrant talent acquisition community. I'm your host, Eden. For the next hour or so, I'm going to be joined by a T100 winner and the head of talent for one of the fastest fintech providers from the Middle East. His leader is scaled on a truly monumental proportion. Having built his own career across agency, RPO, and in-house environments, he brings a unique perspective to the discussion, understanding what talent acquisition looks like from several different lenses. He's passionate about building high-performing recruitment functions that go far beyond just simply filling roles, but that truly helps tackle today's problem. So when you're ready, grab your favorite tea or coffee if you prefer, and welcome today's guest, the head of talent acquisition at Tabby, Alex Corbin. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Before we clicked record, we were just talking about the scale element of what you've done. And I think how we're going to unfold this conversation is like a real honest lens of your career to begin with, and probably what a lot of other people felt, to show that you don't have to have gone into recruitment with, this idea that I'm going to be this at some point. You've kind of got there, yes, on your own merit. I think you also said a little bit on luck at some point, but, to showcase you can get to the position that you are at. With no idea of how you're going to get there to begin with. I really like the idea of doing that. But before we get into yourself, I'm curious to understand from your perspective, looking forward next 3 years, what do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for us as recruiters to really overcome, like the genuine root cause challenge?
So that's actually a very good question. A tough one as well. I think that the biggest challenge talent acquisition is most likely going to be facing is how are we going to prove to the world that we still have a place here. I mean, we know that AI is a very hot topic, right? And with the progress at which AI is moving, right? I mean, we're already talking about possibly not needing coordinators by the end of the year, right? In the next 12 months or so, sourcing might actually just become obsolete, right, and done directly by AI. We know, and we're already using, and I'm happy to tell you guys about this, right? But we are using AI agents to screen at the moment, right? So then the question is, what's left for talent acquisition, right? So a lot of people say, yeah, but what about the human touch? But then there's also so there's two ways of looking at it. So there is, okay, human touch, one, does not mean we're going to remove it. I'm talking about talent acquisition specifically, right? You can still keep the rest of the interviewing team as part of the interviewing panel, right? But do you need to actually screen every single candidate? And then the other thing is, by actually automating the screening, you're technically giving a chance to more people. You can ultimately screen absolutely anybody that applies for your job. Anybody. So everybody has a chance. So this is also, okay, I don't get to speak to a real person, but I also get my chance instead of getting rejected or skipped, right? So went to this conference a week ago, part of the RL community, where they were saying that talent acquisition is most likely going to move away from being a more operational department, right, where we actually conduct the interviews and all this, to becoming a much more strategic department, right, where we would be talking more about workforce management, right, manpower planning, comp and ban, etc., etc. So let's see how fast everything moves, right? But I do think, to kind of summarize everything, the challenge is going to be to justify talent acquisition still existing the way it exists today and the way we understand talent acquisition.
I think that's a really interesting perspective, because I ask this question to a lot of people, not just on the podcasts, in general, having conversations with TA, and it is always about, oh no, we're always going to be needed. We're always going to be needed. We've always got that human side. And it's quite an interesting perspective from your side to say, actually, we probably won't be, but where else can we add that value? How do we, for the justification, I hadn't personally sat there and thought, well, I need to justify why you need me. I think I'm in the camp of you need the human side. Actually, some people might not want, or might not care. I think my colleague Jodie, she mentions this, like when people first had chatbots, was also annoyed. You just want to speak to a human, and now it's just second nature. You have an issue with Amazon, you go to the chatbot, and does that then
Yeah.
become, 3 years from now, the second nature of recruitment? Who knows? As you say, it depends on what else we can do. But your career has spanned different environments. As I mentioned in the beginning, agency, then to RPO, then to in-house. But when you first entered the recruitment space, did you really
hmm
think this is my career? This is what I'm going to spend the next, you know, years doing? Or is it more of just like, I'm going to do it for a bit, see what it's like, especially on the agency side, earn a bit money here and then go do what I want to go do?
Yeah. Um, so no, I didn't even know what recruitment was, right? I did not even really know recruitment was a thing, to be very honest. It's actually a friend that reached out to me. He was in London, and at the time they were looking for um, French speaking recruiters. And I was looking for a change, and I was like, why not, right?
Yeah.
Why not? So remember, flew out to London, joined this company, which is very big agency. And at the time, I was given the French and Swiss pharma market, specifically within SaaS technology, right? So you had R
Wow.
used in the public, SaaS in private. And I had no clue what I was doing, right? No clue what I was doing. But the classic British agency, we all looked awesome, right? Like total winners, little
Brought in the
tie, the
suits.
suit.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. If you guys make 10 deals in a month, you're gonna get a Rolex, and you're like, wow. At the time you're like 20, early 20s, and you're like, wow, Rolex. You're gonna go to those lunch clubs. You can get like a big time commissions. So they were really selling the dream, and I was buying it. I was actually like totally buying it. I even remember some of those classic BD calls, calling them, and they're like, we have an internal recruitment team. And I found out that you had internal recruitment teams. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that was a thing, like I was really like clueless. So no, I did not think this was actually going to become my career, because I didn't even know this was a career.
Yeah. When did it start kind of going away from, I had no idea about recruitment in general and internal, and then you start sitting there going, actually, I like this a bit, like this, with that kind of element of like, I'm no longer just doing this for the sake of the Rolex watch, as it were, but I'm doing this because
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy doing this now.
Uh, I hated actually the whole recruitment in the sense that I thought that was recruitment, right? When you have to do BD and and I mean I didn't like the markets, didn't like the company, the way
Yeah.
it was just not my thing, right? So when I actually left them, I moved back to Poland, right? And at that point, I was looking for pretty much anything. But I did have this prior experience in recruitment, and so I also applied to this RPO called Toolbox for HR. Unfortunately, it does not really exist anymore. And so I was. They reached out to me, and I was invited to come meet the founder, Marcin Smolinski, who used to be one of the first tech recruiters for Google in Europe. He pretty much opened every single office Google had
Oh,
around
wow.
Europe. Super cool guy. Um, and and his approach was, I'll take people that have minimal slash no recruitment experience, and I'll make a beast out of you. If you look at the different people that have worked at Toolbox for HR, you'll see that they're all in like incredible companies. I have, for instance, Ostap. Right now, he's leading my tech recruitment team, and I mean, they're everywhere, right? Amazon, Uber, etc. Right? So everybody actually really made it in the world of recruitment. And obviously, having his background as well as the network he was working with absolutely everybody in Europe, right? And the guy was fantastic, right? Amazing mentor, not such a good manager, but he admitted it himself. But in terms of mentorship, showing you what real tech recruitment is, was incredible. And he had so many cool clients, right? So at the time, one of the bigger clients was Vion. They were building this massive app. It never worked out in the end, right? But it was supposed to be the WeChat of Europe, right? So you could do absolutely everything, payments, etc., etc. And it's a pretty big group, right? And so I mean, on my second week in the job, I was already on a plane to their flying to their headquarters in Amsterdam, and I had no clue what I was doing. I remember I was given this recruiter license, LinkedIn recruiter license, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Because we didn't
Mind
have
blown.
one in
Like,
the
what the
agency,
hell?
and I
Yeah.
was like, "Wow, recruitment is easy." Which, and I was just randomly reaching out to absolutely everybody. Um, which I mean, in the end, there was like zero strategy in this. I had zero idea what I was doing, and it was just like volume. So in the end, I actually remember making the first QA hire within my first 2 weeks.
Nice.
At Toolbox, right? And so obviously he was very happy, but once again, it was just like I was so lucky. It was just volume, right? Obviously, with this kind of volume,
Something
you're
has
gonna
to stick eventually.
exactly, but like zero quality, zero anything. I remember I was just calling the candidate. I didn't know how to introduce myself or the company I was working for, right? Those are things I picked up super rapidly, right? And I would as I was growing, right? I've always been like very motivated, workaholic. I just enjoy working so much that very rapidly I became lead. He put me on the Jazzy project, so that was also part of Vian, but in Algeria. I was traveling all the time to Algeria. Banglalink in Bangladesh. We went to Bangladesh, trying to build an entire data science team there. Data science was not a thing at the time. It was not really a thing to begin with. In Bangladesh, it was in existence, so we had to tap into the diaspora and convince them, like, hey, you want to come back to Bangladesh and actually be a pioneer here. Super fun in Berlin. I mean, that was when Berlin was like the hot spot in Europe, right? Working with
Well, it's still at fourth. It's
it,
fourth or third at the moment. It's dropped, but I've still got a
yeah,
soft spot for Berlin.
but back then, it was really like all those emerging startups, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we were working with Get Your Guide, pretty much building everything for Get Your Guide back then. Oh man, there were just like so many startups, and we were working with absolutely everybody. And every week he would just put us on a plane and fly out there to meet different people. One of the coolest projects I worked for was ISI. They're still running. I mean, incredibly successful. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They actually send satellites
Who is it again?
into space, and they have this technology which is the SAR technology, and I still remember what it means: synthetic aperture radar, which basically means that no matter what is in between the radar and what they want to shoot, it will shoot. A cloud, whatever, right? They will manage to go through it, right? And so they partner with SpaceX. The idea of Marcin, my boss, was to one day sign SpaceX, right? That was passionate about space, right? And it was like super cool. So those guys came. They had no idea what they were doing. It was actually two students, right, in
Mm.
Helsinki. Espoo specifically, who built this thing during university, and they got their first investment, and we're like, okay, guys, now we need to actually get cracking. That was before they even launched their first radar, and so the first mission we had was within 3 months, we needed to build their first customer service center for the clients, as well as their operation center. So operation center is basically, like in the movies, when you have those guys eating those Chinese noodles looking at a screen, that's what it was. And once again, we're like, what is this? Where are we going to find those people? And we actually nailed it. Back then, they were not even a team of 20. And right now, I mean, you can look it up. ISA is one of a kind in its field, signed NASA, everybody, and they're just doing amazing. And so that was Toolbox for HR. That's what it was. And that's when I realized that recruitment is so cool. It's actually really cool. It's more than just like building your desk, doing BD. I wasn't doing any BD, right? So that was great. But I was still missing I am really an in-house recruiter, right? Because I was not, so you're really like embedded. And thanks to Marcin, we actually really managed to be a proper RPO, because, you have a lot of RPOs out there, which are not really RPOs, right? They just charge you more for not necessarily being an embedded recruiter. But I wanted to really become a true in-house recruiter, and then this is when I moved to HelloFresh, and realized that that might become my career.
So what point do you realize that there's more than just hiring and recruitment then? When do you realize there's all this other world of just putting bums on seats?
So I mean, already at Toolbox, I mean, obviously we needed to share a lot of data with the different customers, right? The pipe, market research. I remember conducting a bunch of different interview trainings in Algeria, because Algerians had this very old school way of conducting interviews, which is just not what the younger talent was expecting, right? So they were actually struggling to engage with the talent and build this relationship. So this is where I realized that, I mean, there's much more around it, right? There's the whole data piece, there's the whole market research for us to actually become better at what we are doing. On top of that, matching with every Friday, we would have those show and tells, kind of like in kindergarten when you bring your favorite toy. But this time it was like a new technology, right? Or a certain way of building a Boolean, something different, right? And so I realized that there's like so much more around it, and that you constantly need to stay on top of the different trends, right? And I mean, on top of that, this is where I also got the first taste of leadership, right? Because so at the time I was leading 3 different teams for 3 different projects within Toolbox for HR, and I mean, on top of managing the client, right? Also managing the team. And I was like, at that point I was barely conducting interviews anymore, right? And so this is where I was like, okay, there's more to it, and so this is where I really got hungry, especially for this leadership piece, which is something I always enjoyed.
So it becomes more strategic,
Yeah.
which also links into what you said at the beginning. The next 3 years, we're going to become a more strategic function.
Yeah.
So from a leadership perspective, I guess, you with Tabby and how you've kind of grown as a business,
Mm-hmm.
where are you involved in? Are you involved in everything from workforce planning, business
Yeah.
decisions, or how does it really look in kind of the structure that you've just gone through, with, scale up?
Oh. So just to give you a bit of a better understanding of, so when I started at Tabby, there were 2 recruiters, right? And now we have roughly a department of, I mean, we've had some changes, right? Because we've created other departments. Like a year ago, I had analytics under me, right? I had a data analyst running reports and all this, but now we created this people tech department. So look, give or take, we have between 50 to 60 people in the department, right? So I mean, and that is within not even 3 years, right? So that means that
Mm.
I've had to adapt and learn how to actually manage this department. So I mean, I am lucky to have three managers I can count on, right? So I've got Steve managing, which you know, Steve. So he's managing the CX piece.
For interjection here, Steve is. If anyone wants to go back to listen to, he's done the podcast. I'll tag it. Brilliant conversation. Great hire for you guys. Like I loved the conversation and just a genuinely decent guy. I loved it.
100%,
So
100%,
you can let him
100%.
know after we've recorded this. I give him some good respect.
So Steve is managing the CX piece. I have Ostap that I just mentioned. He's managing the tech, and then I have Nadia who's doing the non-tech or business piece. And then not all of them, but some also have like managers and managers that have managed, like I
Mhm.
mean we can
Yeah.
go down pretty deep, especially on Steve's piece, because this is mass hiring, and so that's where a lot of things are um are happening, right? Um so so that's size of the team, right? But also the way we work. There was an ATS back then. It was Greenhouse, actually. It was there. We're just living. Nobody was really using it. Nothing was automated, right? So that's one of the first things I tackled. Actually, let's use the ATS, right? Why are we not using the ATS? Why do we have an ATS and we keep track of everything outside? Why are we conducting the interviews outside? Why are offer letters not automated, which are kind of like simple things and remove quite a bit of admin from recruiters, right? So first thing I tackled, the license was coming to its end, so we actually launched Pinpoint, because at the time it made sense, right? LinkedIn recruiter licenses had to fight for this license, right? Because the for some reason our founders were against it, right? So I actually ran a pilot, and even after showing them that 40% of the hires that were made within this 3 months trial period were source candidates via LinkedIn recruiter, they still said no to it. I was like, oh,
Wow.
I'm not quite sure how I should
Did they have a benchmark in mind of what they wanted to see, or do you reckon it was always going to be a no?
it was gonna be a no. It was gonna be a
Yeah.
no, but I had to show them the reality. At the time we were
Mm.
also using quite a bit of agencies for tech hiring, right? And at one point I just managed to gather all of the data and just be like, okay, guys, yes, it's a significant cost, but this is also what agencies are costing us. These are the results we're seeing, and that's how much we can actually save, right? In the end, I did get the approval for it, right, which is awesome. And I mean, we're continuing to add a lot of tools. I'm happy to walk you through what's happening on the CX side of thing, which is actually very innovative, very AI
Yeah,
related
yeah,
as
but
well.
please do, because I think now this is the element of like the strategic side of what we're looking at from a recruitment perspective. Quite interesting hearing from a leader who's scaled dramatically, like some of the troubles you've had. Because I think like a lot of us think, oh, recruiter, it's a standard now. Like there was a friend of mine, she entered a role and they wouldn't give it to her, and
Yeah,
like she was like, well, how do I do recruitment then? I was like, you can still recruit without recruiter license. It
correct.
does make it slower, but you can still do it. But I think it's interesting to hear that even obviously, I think you mentioned when you joined like 500, but it still wasn't they weren't using tools like that. So yeah, definitely share a little bit of kind of what's happening, and hopefully then it might resonate a little bit more with some of the listeners thinking, okay, maybe
Yeah.
we're there as well.
So, look, what I am really working on right now is how to build a smart, efficient department. Okay.
Mhm.
So what I mean by smart, it's data driven, right? So everybody talks about data, and uh, you'd be surprised, and I was surprised at what point big companies have zero visibility on their data. I'm talking about like proper big companies. Maybe not the Amazons and this, right? But I mean like even one size below, like in the region, like Talabat, right, which is part of Delivery Hero, Deliveroo, etc. I mean, you'd
Mhm.
actually be surprised at what's happening, and you wouldn't think that that's how it is in a company that's been out there for like 12 years or so. And so obviously data tells us so many things, and depending on your tech capacity. So we're lucky that Tabi, I mean, we're very we're a tech business obviously,
Yeah.
but we're very happy to actually build everything in house, right? So we're building the entire people tools inside, right? Manpower planning, we built it in-house. We're building an HRIS. We're gonna start tackling ATS, you know. So we actually have this luck of being able to tackle everything inside. And so this does not mean that everything is gonna get done if you do not have a clean house, right? So like proper data. But if you actually manage to get this, then you can start to apply machine learning, right? So that you can actually have a bit more of a predictive recruitment, right? So one, it's the whole CV scoring, right?
Mhm.
We do absolutely everything manually right now. I was talking with one of my recruiters specifically for a data analyst job, right? We got for only this job over 3,000 applications. So she actually
Wow.
went manually through 3,000 applications, which if you do, let's say that it's like 30 seconds per per CV to screen, right? I mean, you're already at like you're at a lot of time, right? And so in the end, like if you look at it, it's gonna take like a full four 4 days, 5 days for a recruiter only doing this, right? And so this is lost time. This is lost time, right? And this is time that, so this is what I want to be fixing, right? Being able to give back time to the recruiter so that they can focus on what they're supposed to be doing, which is ultimately interviewing the candidates, sourcing. We do have some sourcers, right? But like sourcing um, as well. So we are at the moment building a CV scoring system, right? Which is complex. Actually, it's much more complicated than you might think, right? But once it's done, we're gonna be able to add some machine learning to it, right? So basically, the CV scoring, the way it's gonna work. So we're not gonna score all of the CVs, right? What I'm gonna say might some people might not like it, right? But the issue we have, so a company like Tabby, we get thousands and thousands and thousands of applications, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
companies are like Tabby, right? I'm not saying it's only Tabby. But the issue here is, or the challenge is, how do we limit missed opportunities? Because unfortunately, we just cannot go through every single application. It's impossible. So what we want to do, and this is where some people might not like it, and where we're back to AI giving opportunities to everybody. We actually want to get rid to like 80% of the CVs, right? And maybe we just keep like 20%. Still to discuss on the rules and all this, right? But like, let's focus on 20% of the best CVs. And with machine learning, right, we're going to be able to link any one hires that happen, right? But also compare the applications to profiles that went through the process and that reached the final or whatever rule we put in place, right? By matching keywords, universities, companies, projects, etc., right? So it's very cool, all those things that you can do. And so this is one of the things I'm working on, for instance.
Does it, sorry, does it not limit someone's ability to get a job with you guys more though, based on how well they can write a CV?
So yes and no. Yes and no. So one, not knowing how to write a CV is not really something we see anymore, in the same way that someone not knowing how to complete a case study we send, because everybody uses LLM agents to do everything, right? So now it's more on, and this is where I'm okay with actually rejecting people who don't have good CVs, because it's more of how can you leverage this LLM to actually put your CV out there, right? I mean, if you're using an LLM agent and you still do not have a good enough CV, like, I mean, once again, some people might not like what I'm saying, and I'm okay with it, right?
Yeah, I
But
think that's the discussion piece to be had. But I've got an example which supports, I guess, my perspective on it and this is what I
yeah,
was thinking of it. So there's a business that I work with. They use the scoring system. This AI will obviously screen the CV and see, they have the skill, they don't have the skill. This person, she simply just did not put a particular technology on her profile. She's
yeah,
not actively looking, just not there. Nice and easy. But I know for a fact what that company hires for. I'm 100% certain.
yeah,
But then the AI says they don't have the experience, and then it's
yeah.
rejected. I'm like, well, why are you rejecting? Because of this, and this. But it's not on the CV. But I know for a fact she just sent me the CV she hadn't had it updated. And it's time and time again. Some people don't think, for example, on the front end, like GraphQL and Next are super important,
Sure.
but they are to some companies, and they're the ones that kind of
So
lose
yeah,
out.
so I hear you. True. So then, I would have a lot of questions about this CV scoring tool, right? Because one thing is, did they actually build it in house? Are they using a third party? I get those 20 messages per day, right? Hey, we can build
Yeah,
this and that, right? I mean, it's really like
it's a
hot
pretty
topic.
well-known
We're
ATS system, shall we say?
okay. So we are building it in house, so we can tailor it. We're obviously we're testing it right now, right? And we
Mm.
will tweak it the way we want it to be, right? So it's not like then it doesn't work and we have to check with the vendor, but they cannot just personalize it for us. Here we can actually personalize the whole thing. And then another thing is there actually machine learning? I don't know. We see a pattern
Yeah, that's a good point.
on the profiles that work for us, right? And which don't work, for instance, in engineering, right? If we take like a backend engineer, we know that unfortunately an engineer that has not worked in a large scalable product company, right? Not going to work, because unfortunately they're going to fail in the system design stage, and it's a repetitive pattern
Yeah,
that we see, up to the point that we know that it's not a coincidence. It's an actual pattern. So can our LLM, I mean, obviously it's linked to an LLM and all this, right? But like, can this system not be taught this specific thing, so that even if there's a technology missing, which, by the way, one of the biggest wins we had right before Christmas is we started to introduce code agnostic interviews. That is, I mean, we've been fighting on it for years. And right now, because we have become a bit more of a data driven company or department, we managed to actually build a real case around it, right? So we don't so much care about the language, for instance. But if we know that, silly example, right? But like Amazon works for us, well, we know that Amazon works, right? And so even if there's pieces missing, this profile would be given a chance, right?
yeah.
So we can tweak it, right? But I hear you. It's true.
I think that would be a real curious reflection And I'd like to at least understand once it goes live, what as the milestones happen, month
Yeah,
3, month 6, I would very much like to understand what are the outcomes, because I think a lot of the time when I'm speaking to leaders in your position, um, they're trying to do all these moves. Some doing far less than others, and it's about trying to see what works. But very few people are willing to commit and say, we're definitively doing this.
yeah,
Here's the update to it, because it's the brand that can get knocked by it. But I like the fact you've been very open. Some people are going to agree, some people won't, and I'm sure we're listening, or some people in some people's ears right now, and they're absolutely disagreeing with you. So I think we'd all like to at least understand it. The other perception I have is that you're in a very fortunate position in the sense that Tabby has scaled dramatically. You've got there in your own right, but you're in a
yeah,
fortunate position where you can experiment. You've clearly got an environment around you and managers around you that we want to be driven by the same mentality.
yeah,
But we have a lot of listeners that are individual contributors that want to step into leadership but don't
yeah.
necessarily have the responsibilities yet. So I guess just as a final piece, shall we say, what would be kind of your key thing that someone who is listening in that environment, what they could start doing today to just start changing the perception of how they're being seen across the team, to kind of move more in towards like a leadership, a title, maybe not, but like at least responsibility perception.
Sure. So, for me, everything is about data. So look, when you reach to my level, it sounds a bit
I
weird,
get what you mean. Don't worry. Don't worry.
right? But so when you're actually leading talent acquisition in such a big company, and I mean we're very small compared to many others, right? So you can imagine what happens there. I don't look into operations anymore. Absolutely not. Right. I have managers who actually do the operational work. Right. So they're the ones that are in charge of delivering on the recruitment plan. Right. And I facilitate their job. Right. So by putting in place processes, reworking the strategy, etc., right? Tooling, etc. But there is one thing which is crucial. It's data, right? My only visibility on what is happening is if I get the data, because I'm no longer hands-on on top of, like that's what's happening on the tech side of things, non-tech, CX. I mean, and if we talk about CX, for instance, we're talking about thousands of candidates interviewed. Just to give you an idea, because I have the number in my head. Steve actually gave an update earlier. So
He
only in
loves a number.
Saudi, he does. Only in Saudi Arabia since the 18th of Feb, so that was last week, we have dialed over 4,700 candidates.
Wow.
Exactly. So you're not going to remember all of this, right? So this is where, I mean, you need to understand, right? And if you want to be taken seriously by the business and build a case around anything, right? I mean, you might see a bottleneck in the process, right? I've done it, and I've seen many people do it, which is like a lot of candidates. But what is a lot of candidates? And there's two things here. One, a lot of candidates doesn't, it's not a number, right? So what does it mean, right? Is it really that big of an issue? Because you being very hands-on, like you're the one actually doing the screen. I mean, you just get lost in translation. You're just talking to so many people that it might seem like a lot, but once you look at the number, it's like, okay, it was not that much, but maybe that person made a big deal out of whatever, right? And that's the only way you will be able to move forward in your career, looking at the data and talking data. And this is something I force my team to do, right? Everybody needs to be on top of their numbers, right? and we have a lot of different metrics, right? I mean, you've got the classic ones, which is like, hires made per month, right? So there's a clear number that needs to be hit. Time to fill, time to hire, offer acceptance rate, etc., right? But we also have some which are, the pass-through rate from screening, or not screening, but like, so we call it technical, which is any first interview after the screening call, up to offer, right? We're aiming at a 10%, right? So technically, like, one candidate out of 10 should get an offer. And this is something, so a lot of people will say that it's an aggressive number. Overall, we have very aggressive numbers, right? And this is a conversation I actually had with one of my recruiters last Friday during a performance review, where the recruiter was actually saying that, I mean, the numbers are very aggressive, and can we actually do anything, because I'm burning out and all this? To which I said, look, unfortunately, once again, some people might not like what I'm saying. I'm not going to review the numbers and lower everything because you're burning out. Now, I don't want you to burn out. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to burn out, and I don't want anybody to do overtime, right? We do it at Tabby because of the environment and the speed and everything, right? But I don't want anybody to do crazy hours. But I want you to feel responsible and accountable for fixing anything. So why are you burning out? To make, the number is actually 5 hires, which for a lot of companies in Europe, it's an unseen number, right? But like, that's
what an aggressive number.
So 5 hires. If you cannot make 5 hires, why can you not make 5 hires? And you start to list everything, right? And it can be a lot of things, right? And so in this case, it was like, oh, I'm wasting a lot of time on admin. Cool. Let's draw the entire process. So right now, this is an exercise we're doing, right? We're actually doing swim lanes, and drawing the entire process. You know the process, but have you seen the process? And once you actually look at the process, you're like, okay, this is silly. This can be automated. This, all this, right? And same thing, right? The hiring manager is too slow in giving a response, right? Why is this? Let's reevaluate how we actually communicate all those things. We just hired a communication expert for the people team, right? So we're gonna, so that's the thing, right? I don't want to remove my target because we have bottlenecks within our own department, right? Let's fix this. Let's keep this number, and then we might go to 10 per month. I don't know. We'll see. But bottom line,
I think that's that's what you're saying. The facilitation part. That's your job. How can I help you get to that? The target is this. How do we help you get to that? But
correct.
Alex,
correct.
I really appreciate you being honest, right? And that's the most important thing I can see from this. And like you said, there's 2 parts of the conversation. You're absolutely right. This is gonna rub some people up the wrong way, and some people will sit back and go, "Fuck me, that's like, I want to work there. That sounds like the environment for me." So, but I really appreciate the candid and honesty, because that's really what makes this more authentic and real for everyone. So if someone wants to pick up the conversation or berate you, as it were, where can they find you? Where's the best place to converse with you?
I mean, I kind of want to say the easy one is you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you manage to find my phone number, which a lot of people do, I don't know how.
Unfortunately, you're probably on a database somewhere. That's the unfortunate thing. Apollo has probably scraped you somewhere.
Most likely. I mean, the number is in my email signature, so once you have it, for sure. If you get my number,
you're gonna get
you can
bombarded
WhatsApp
from me.
So you can also WhatsApp me if you find this number. But if not, LinkedIn for sure.
If someone does want his number, I do have. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't do that to you. Don't worry. Just ask them, did they get it from me? I promise you it's not. But no, Alex, I really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you so much for joining.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
See you.